So, not that anyone's counting. We closed our campus to in-person activities dramatically on March 12th, 2020. That was 23 months and 1 week ago. Or 101 weeks ago. Or 698 days ago. Again, not that I'm counting. It was like yesterday. I can remember that week so vividly. And it was also a lifetime ago. We closed for in-person activities then, but we for sure have been open and active. In many ways, we have been thriving. We actually have more programming going on right now than we did on March 12th, 2020. But I think we've, and I mean the very collective we, have had very different experiences of what this pandemic has been like, especially perhaps in your involvement at UUCP. Some of you have been very involved. Last week at lunch with the minister, I had several of you mention that you had 3 UUCP activities that day on Zoom, and you were quite thrilled about it. You have met people that you wouldn't otherwise have met. You have told me that we need to forever change coffee hour because you've loved online coffee hour, and you have made deeper connections. Some of you have struggled to be online only. You haven't felt the depth of connection through virtual services and meetings. You've missed singing together, laughing together, and hugging. Some people have left the congregation altogether for many different reasons, and we might not know for a while who that has been. Some of you have been all in between. Maybe it changes from 1 week or the other. And I am so heartened to think of how many of you have found us during this time, who had never stepped into the building and yet knew this was a community. And then I'm just blown away with how many new people are here today. A very sincere welcome to you. So here we are on a momentous day, and also just another Sunday. We all have a little bit more connection today, whether you are on Zoom and you have a new way of connecting and seeing each other if you want, or those of you who are in person who can be in that community and connect with each other with elbow bumps and smiles behind the masks. This is not back to normal by any means, and the pandemic is not over, but it does feel like a new stage. It's a milestone that we've been waiting a long time for. We've been careful, we've been responsible, and we have been intentional. Now we have the opportunity to intentionally and compassionately find our ways back into each other's lives in new ways again. Today and all of the tomorrows that we are blessed to have, we will look for and find points of connection where we can have that re-entry. You'll be hearing some stories from our members today, and I invite you to continue as you have to think and share your own losses and your great finds. They could fall into several categories. Those things that we lost and didn't want to lose, and we need to grieve them. The losses that, well, we lost them because we really didn't need them anymore. They've become less important or were too hard to maintain. Sometimes we find things when we aren't looking and they just show up and we go, wow, look at that. Here's a new thing. Sometimes we find things because we have needed to. A new coping strategy, or an intentional way of being. Many of you know that I'm an advocate for acknowledging and normalizing pain and suffering in our human condition, rather than the very American way of keeping your chin up and pretending that everything is fine, even though we know perfectly well it's not. The Atlantic had a terrific article a few months ago by Scott Barry Kaufman entitled "Tragic Optimism is the Opposite of Toxic Positivity." Kaufman writes, "Countless books have been written on the power of gratitude and the importance of counting your blessings. But that sentiment may feel like cold comfort during the coronavirus pandemic, when blessings have often seemed scant. Refusing to look at life's darkness and avoiding uncomfortable experiences can be detrimental to mental health. This toxic positivity is ultimately a denial of reality. Telling someone to stay positive in the middle of a global crisis is missing out on an opportunity for growth, not to mention likely to backfire and only make them feel worse." As the gratitude researcher Robert Emmons of UC Davis writes, "To deny that life has its share of disappointments, frustrations, losses, hurts, setbacks, and sadness would be unrealistic and untenable. Life is suffering. No amount of positive thinking exercises will change this truth. Tragic optimism is the search for meaning during the inevitable tragedies of human existence, and is better for us than avoiding darkness and trying to stay positive." Today is an invitation to re-enter into each other's stories, those that you've stayed connected with during this time, and especially those you haven't, acknowledging that we've all had our share of inevitable tragedies as well as those unexpected pleasures. Why is this important for a spiritual community? Because it is whatever connects us to it is what connects us to whatever has meaning for us, and it connects us to each other in our journey of living this human experience. Sometimes we find these big shifts can present the biggest growth. Shifts like deaths and relationship changes and employment or financial tumult, even positive changes that have a lot of stress involved. Sometimes it's big changes like a global pandemic, a racial reckoning, an environmental collapse, or a massive inequality that has the potential to shift us. They can shift our hearts wide open. Parker Palmer says that when the heart is supple, it can be broken open into a greater capacity to hold our own and the world's pain. It happens every day. When we hold our suffering in a way that opens us up to greater compassion, heartbreak can become a source of healing, deepening our empathy for others who suffer and extending our ability to reach out to them. This is what all of the great traditions teach us. Don't gloss over the big moments of pain and celebration and uncertainty. Lean into them. Don't run from them, but befriend them. Hold them in your hands, turn them over, look at them, examine them until they are as malleable as putty. Share them with others and let them help you hold them. Then your experiences open you up to connect with other people's experiences. It can transform it from your own isolated experience into a bridge that connects your heart with others' hearts. It is then that we truly learn that our human experiences create space where we are more deeply connected to each other than we ever imagined, leaving us all feeling more whole.